Welcome to 2026, everyone. How did we get here so quickly? I literally blinked and we're through 4 months of this whole process of the bet. So settle into this one. I'm going to give you my little monthly check-in and then update you on everything else that's going on. Every journey starts with a choice, and mine is a bet. For 1 year, I'm gambling on energy over strategy. No more forcing and no pushing. Just the courage to show up and see what happens when reality becomes my playground. This isn't a podcast. It's a real-time experiment in the lab of my life. Welcome to the bet. Okay, let's jump into the numbers straight off. Just ripping the Band-Aid off with a giant ass dip in my consistency for Instagram. So my total views for the month of December was 12,202, which is down a ton. Let's see, November's numbers were 33,200 views. So yeah, almost 1/3 of the views of November. My interactions also down from 1,263 in November to 362 in December. And let's see, the total content I shared, which maybe explains these numbers, was a mere 34 pieces of content in December versus 86 in November. So we can clearly see a direct correlation between views and consistency. What was interesting though is I did have 85 new followers, which is crazy to me. November, we had 123 followers. So again, it was lower in December, but I would expect it to be a lot lower. So very interesting to me. And then overall, a drop in views from non-followers, which again is not surprising. So what this tells me is this was the first month since September that I didn't have a content plan for the month. I thought, you know what? I've been doing this consistently for 3 months now, showing up every day, following, executing a plan that I had mapped out. And I don't need to worry about that anymore. I'll just continue to do that. And I did not. It was so interesting to me how just not having a plan at all affected me. So here we are on, what is today? January 4th. And I haven't come up with a January plan yet either. So looking at my numbers to make this episode has really shown me that if I want to continue using Instagram, which I do for at least the foreseeable future here, I really do need some kind of targeted plan. So I am going to work on that this week. Wouldn't it be great to have a plan for the whole year? I wish I could be one of these people that maps things out and just has it done and dusted. I have tried that. And then when it actually comes to implementing it, if it doesn't feel alive for me in the moment, if I'm not connecting with it, I don't do it. So I feel like I end up redoing everything anyway. But the idea of doing that is very attractive to me. Okay, let's move on to better news in the stats department. The bet. So this podcast, we had in December a total of 208 downloads, which is crazy to me because we more than doubled from the month of November. And November was 95 downloads. So to go from 95 to 208 in 1 month is a huge jump. And we're up to 90 downloads per episode. Excuse me. No, take that back. We're up to 9 average downloads per episode as opposed to 6. So that's a pretty big jump as well. Very happy to see that. Again, I do no promotion of this podcast. It's really not even meant to be a podcast. So it's just amazing to me that it grows at all, but very interesting. What else? Substack. my little baby that I love. We have a total of 38 subscribers now. So we gained 9 more subscribers, and 30-day views are up as well. 570 views for the month of December versus 359 views in November. So again, big jump. 4 articles total in there, which is the same as November. Okay, and then my revenue was really, really good. It's actually my highest revenue month for 2025. We closed out the year at 5-figure. We had a 5-figure month. So I don't know why I feel so weird about reporting the actual numbers on here. I think I don't want people thinking that it's about the money, even though the money is kind of how you measure the impact that you're making. I don't know, it just feels off to say the exact numbers. You know what I will do? I promise to do this now. I can't believe I'm making a promise. At the end of the 12 months, I will give a total revenue for the 12 months of the bet. That is what I will do, rather than attaching it to specific months. So that will be interesting. We're doing very well though. December was my largest month, like I said, that I've had. Not in my business ever, but definitely for the year of 2025. Okay, so updates. My one-on-one coaching program that I'm transitioning to is going really, really well. I opened that up and the first 3 spots are completely booked. I'm in conversation with another potential client. And so probably just 2 spots left, which is crazy. I'm so excited about the women who are showing up for this, having just the most amazing discovery calls and planning calls and deep dives with them, really mapping out what it is they want to build for their next phase in their life. And I'm truly so honored, so excited to help them build the mental structure to support these big dreams. And it's interesting because I haven't really been actively pushing it or marketing it. So I do think I'll get more intentional with that later this month, but I haven't felt this urgent need to try to launch it or to make a big promotion about it. I really am trying to build a business that feels very simple because that's the way I want to run it. I don't need to make things more complex in my life. I've also been having fun working on crafting out my manifestation list for 2026. Just really letting myself get down to specific details about what it is I want my life to look like, about how exactly I want my house to be, what kind of clients I want to work with, what exactly my typical day gets to look like and feel like. It's just having so much fun mapping out my dream life, setting the intention of what it is that I'm building. And I've been playing around with learning about sacred geometry, and I ordered a bunch of crystals earlier today, which is crazy. I can't tell you how this all started. I do remember sometime around my birthday in 2024, so like a year and a half ago, was when I first got the ping to start looking into crystals, which I had never even remotely been interested in before. I just kind of accepted the ping. I just said, let it be. I said, I'll be open to whatever guidance or direction I receive, but I am not going to go actively start going out learning about crystals. So literally a week later, somebody sends me a crystal necklace for my birthday, just out of the blue. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I just started thinking about crystals and this shows up in my life. And then later that year, it was December, I was at a conference and there was this crystal guy there. He had a whole booth set up. And I went a few times, but it was always crowded and I didn't feel comfortable. And everyone seemed to know what it was that they were doing or what they wanted. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And nothing really felt right to me. So I didn't get anything. So same conference this year in 2025. Same guy is there, same booth. And when I walk up, there's this moment where everyone leaves and it's just him and I. So I got this one-on-one time with him. And I have this moment where I open my mouth. And you know how sometimes you speak and you don't realize what it is you're even going to be saying, but you just hear the words coming out of your mouth? I hear myself telling him, you know what I need? I need something that's going to help me hold the power that I'm supposed to be holding. Something that gives me the strength to hold whatever power is meant to be mine to own. That is what I need. And we have this conversation. He takes me to some crystals. He tells me the crystals will pick me almost. And I was drawn to this very specific cool crystal. It's sitting on my desk right now. I'm actually holding it. So that's my little introduction to crystals. And over this holiday break that I've been on the last few weeks, I'm listening to this podcast, and the guy on there starts talking about sacred geometry, which is another term that has come up in my little sphere of the world. It's come up now a few times. And anytime I hear something repeatedly, I know, okay, that's probably an indication to look into that. I go looking up sacred geometry and I find these cool little like wooden grids on Amazon. So I bought a pack of those and now they're hanging up in my office. Again, I don't know anything about sacred geometry other than it represents these repeated patterns that show up in nature and the cosmos, and they're really cool. And then earlier today, I see something about making crystal grids. So that's how I ended up on a website ordering a bunch of crystal stones and pillars, and I am officially a member of the Crystal Funny Farm as of today. Seriously, I still don't know what I'm doing, and I'm actually okay with that. I do not want to try to turn this into anything more than a fun little hobby, I guess. I truly want this to feel like almost like art. Rather than reading a book or trying to follow someone else's program on how to set up crystal grids, I'm literally just going to arrange them how I want them to look and make my own little manifestations about them versus trying to study it, which is what I would normally do. Let me learn everything I can about crystals and grids and geometry and then execute it in a certain way and do it by this very mapped out procedure type of thing. And I don't want to do that. I want to do this purely going by my own inner guidance, because this whole public bet I'm making right now is all about building something energetically. And I have a very deep interest and curiosity in studying energy and how we can use our mind to control it and shape it. So, do I think crystals are magical fixes for things? No, I do not. But I do think that they hold energy. And when I hear people talking about literally programming crystals with your intention, I was like, that's just like programming your mind. So I'm fully down to try this out, but I'm going to keep it light and fun and not make it serious. And if you all think I'm nutso right now, then I get it. I probably am. Oh my God. I also want to tell you about a conversation I had with Mike and a decision I made literally yesterday that is going to sound like a complete 180 from what I said last week about staying in my $12,000 mastermind. I had said I had decided to stay another year because I told myself that quitting is off the table until I get my results. That's my rule number one, is that quitting is just not an option for me. But I've had this nagging little thought that I shouldn't be spending the money on that particular program. But it's making myself do it because I said that I wasn't going to quit. Which brings me to the second rule I have, which is that I'm not going to make any decisions from a place of fear. So I had to really spend some time over the last few days thinking about whether this was a fear-based decision, that I was avoiding spending the money because I was afraid to lose it, or if something else was going on. And I went through this exercise of saying, okay, if you were going to stay in this mastermind, if you're going to pay another $12,000, what would it look like to double down on what you've been doing with this mastermind? What would it look like to go all the way in for 2026? And I came up with the idea of making my own little pod of entrepreneurs within the mastermind. So like a smaller group within the mastermind, the same way I did when I first started a group with my friends called Pivot years ago. Before I started coaching, I got that idea. And it evolved into one of my group programs, like we call it Stands. So it was very similar to that, where we do a daily check-in. And it's a lot of energetic work, very similar to what I do with my clients. So I got excited about that. And then I realized I'm just going to be adding more work back into my life. And I'd likely be coaching people who were having mindset blocks each day about their businesses. And that's really not the point of this mastermind, right? The point isn't to create a separate coaching group within that group, but it's very good information because telling me what I was kind of seeking out or what I was getting excited about. And Mike helped me realize that what this particular coaching container provides is not necessarily what I actually need. Because right now, as I was saying earlier, my business is simpler than ever. I do not need more support for marketing and messaging and learning how to launch 18 different ways and building funnels and all of that, building out a whole team to support me. I am working with just 6 clients at a time. That's it. And if I'm being totally honest, which is what this is all about, what I actually need help with is not building a business. It's not executing on plans. I've already proven I can do that. If you're a high achiever type listening to this, I'm sure you can relate to that. The doing of something is very different than the being of someone. Okay, so if I were to get help with something, it would be in helping me program the belief that I can actually build a wildly successful, financially abundant business without making things complicated and without burning myself out. And also in reprogramming my entire relationship to making money. I need to really adjust my financial thermostat to be able to hold more abundance and wealth. That's kind of where my block is right now. Because something I noticed is that the more successful I've become since starting this business a little over 3 years ago, the more unexpected expenses that show up in my life. And the more mega financial curveballs we've had. Those types of things never happened until I started this business. So it's very interesting to look at that energetically, how all these extra expenses and all these wild financial curveballs have come out of the woodwork since starting this business. So what part of me believes that I cannot have this, that I cannot sustain this, or that I don't deserve this kind of financial success? Or it could be that on some level, I'm afraid it's all going to go away. And so these situations and these circumstances keep coming up to create evidence of that exact thing happening, which is why I took quitting off the table to begin with. It's why you just got to take quitting away as an option. I got this great email today from Andrea Crowder, who is a coach in the personal development space. And it really nails this whole phenomenon, like totally, because it does take a very special kind of crazy to do this type of work. She was talking about how much courage it takes to stay on the field, to stay in the game, be on the field, just in it to win it kind of mentality with your heart wide open, even when it looks like things aren't working out. Because most people back down when it looks like they're not going to win, especially when other people are watching the game. But people like me, and I'm guessing people like you, if you're the kind of person listening to this, people like us, we're wired differently. We view backing down from what we've decided we get to have in this life as the greatest failure of all. That to us is far more devastating than failing in front of people who are watching us. We've decided we're the kind of people who stay on the field. We stay focused on winning the game no matter what it looks like. So Andrew was talking about how our ability to succeed really comes down to our overall tolerance. Our tolerance to be naked and exposed on the field with other people not only watching you, but knowing how bad you want it while it's not working until it does work. It's like, how long can you be uncomfortable with people watching you go for this thing that you say you want while you still don't have it? And hold the faith that it still gets to happen for you. That whole ability to do that requires a very special level of crazy. So if I'm going to invest in coaching, it would be for a situation that puts me around people who are smack dab in the crazy pool with me. Which brings me back to Mike. He starts asking me, why don't I join a mastermind like that? And then I tell him the cost of some of the groups that I happen to know about. And one of them is like $50,000, which I'm thinking is going to sound absolutely bonkers to him. But he doesn't miss a beat. He was like, you should do that, which, to be clear, I'm not doing that. But it was crazy to see this man pushing me to do something so out there. I said, what if that didn't work? What if we spend $50,000 and I still don't get my results? And again, he goes, then we'd move on to the next thing. Because one thing I know for sure, it's that you're meant to do this. I'm getting chills thinking about it now. He thinks I can do this. That is crazy to me, to be with somebody who believes in me that much. He happens to think I have an emotional block that's holding me back. And he was like, you know what? You're going to do great things this year, just as you are right now. Look at what you're doing right now. It's great. You're going to have a great year. But if you unlock that emotional thing that's trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you right where you've always been, you're going to blow yourself away, which I already know intellectually, but I need to know it in my heart. Right? He's right. There's a little bit of a lockdown on that part of me. And it was in that moment that I realized I'm with someone who believes in me like no one else ever has. The kind of belief that I wished I had as a kid. He believes in me to the point that if I blew 50 grand on a mastermind and still didn't get my results, you couldn't convince him that it was because of me, or that it meant anything about my ability to be successful. So to be clear, no, I'm not signing up for a $50,000 mastermind. Not yet anyway. Stay tuned. And I'm also not going to renew my other mastermind. I will probably just continue to work with Carly as needed. But I think part of my path right now is honoring what I don't need anymore and freeing up space for some other support to arrive in my life and doubling down on all my energetic work, which is what I'm going to talk about next week. I said from the beginning that the bet is all about building my business on energy over strategy, but I haven't shared any of what I'm doing energetically. Like, what is my daily process? What does that look like? What am I even doing with energy when I'm talking about that? So I'm going to do a whole episode on what that practice is and maybe share more what I'm doing with these crystals, my new little crystal babies, if they arrive in the mail before then. So I'm really looking forward to sharing all of that next week with you. And I hope that your 2026 is going wonderfully. I hope that you are basking in the portal of what is possible, in that beautiful space of potential, that you are waking up every day thinking about your potential and your possibility. That is the energy I'm sending out to all of you, all 9 of you now who are listening. And know that you have my full respect for being in the game, being on the field, being willing to fail, knowing that the only way you fail is if you leave the field. And you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that because you're here to always bet on yourself.